Hello everyone, Todd Michael Putnam from Creative Adventure Tables bringing you another adventure table idea, and this is Welcome to Goblindome. Welcome to Goblindome. My Shadow Dark campaign is, I think we're on our fourth session of the second or third season, and in this particular session here, this campaign basically very loosely based everything off of the old B2 Keep on the Borderlands campaign. And when I say very loosely, I mean there's a keep and there's a bunch of caves. What's in the caves is extremely loosely related to what's actually in the Caves of Chaos in the actual adventure B2. So in this one here, they're going out and they're going after the goblins because they're discovering that there's some kind of a loose alliance between goblins and kobolds, and maybe even some plague doctors who were underneath the keep itself in the sewers. That were basically trying to spread chaos, and so now the players are going out into the into the caves, and they're trying to track down the different monsters and find out who's behind all this big chaos alliance that's going on. And the goblin caves are up next. And of course, all of this is covered. Obviously, the lights have been turned off. The lava magna lights aren't on when I first started, and I've got it covered up with black cloth, black poster board, stuff like that, so they can't actually see what's going on. Starting off, the adventure starts off super easy. They go into the entrance to the caves, and there's just a bunch of normal wolves, kind of mangy looking wolves that are in there. There's also a sign that's got some stuff carved in it. In common, but it's really crude common. You go away, belong here. That kind of stuff. And it's all spelled wrong, and it's like very poor common tongue. The players are I believe third level. Yeah, they're third level for this session, so they're not going to have any problems attacking these wolves and clearing them out a bit. And then from there, it T-sections, and it could either go left or right. We're just going to go right real quick. If they go to the right, they're going to see some stalagmites and stalagmites in a section over here. And there's going to be some barred iron door or iron bars that on this other doorway over here that they're not able to get through. There's no key, there's no lock, there's no way that they can get through it, and it's too hard for them to bend. There's no way. They're way too thick. So there clearly must be a lever somewhere, something on the other side. But in the meantime, there's some giant centipedes that drop down from the ceilings, crawling all over them and biting them and stinging them and stuff, giving them big ick factor. And presumably they should be able to fight them off without too much trouble. And then they're going to be forced to head back in the other direction. And over in this direction, they're going to see a small encampment of just 3 little goblins by a small fire, cooking some food, skewered rabbit or rat or something like that. And the goblins are going to put up a really meek resistance. They're gonna yell and be mad and whatnot. They're gonna make stabby motions with their spears. But as soon as push comes to shove, as soon as the first one dies, one of them is going to just run, and the other one's going to drop to his knees and just beg and say, please don't kill me. I don't even want to be here. The Overlord Toady's mean and cruel, and we don't like him. And there's 2 ways to play goblins, of course. The first way is like in Lord of the Rings, right, where they're really truly nasty, vile creatures. And then the other way is kind of like Muppet stupid. They're kind of idiots. And for this session, we're just playing them that way. We're playing them. So this one's begging for his life and saying that if you spare his life, that he'll tell the players about the goblins and what's going on, and lead them through in order to get to Overlord Toady, who he hates, and all the other people hate. All the other goblins hate too, because he's so mean and cruel to them, and he shows them the lash on their back and stuff. But this is all a setup. This goblin's actually in on it, and he leads the players through into this section over here, and there's a small little bit of treasure that's just kind of thrown around in there. And as the players go into there, as soon as all the last of the players in, there's basically an avalanche that happens behind them. And it's a triggered avalanche because all up along in these upper sections, there's a whole bunch of goblins that are waiting, that are hiding. And as soon as the avalanche triggers and there's no way to escape, there's only one other way out of the room, and that's with a gate that requires a key. which the goblins up on the top have. The avalanche collapses in, and the heroes are stuck in there, and they're completely surrounded. It's like 50 to 1 odds. And the goblins are like, you surrender, you trespassing, you go trial. And they'll take the players prisoner. They do not disarm the players, though. They don't disarm them. They basically throw a big net over them, and they start marching them through. But players get to keep their armor, get to keep their weapons and stuff, but they're just massively outgunned, so to speak. And the goblins will march them along through here. They'll put little hoodies on them, and they'll march them along, and they'll go up these steps, and they're going to feel this extreme heat around them. But goblins, go forward, and then they'll be able to feel that the goblins are actually pulling them. And they're going to pull them into these grates into here and push them into a room and then close the door. And they're going to be all laughing about, you go trial, and face Overlord Toady. So when they finally, then their hoods get taken off. And when they come through the gates, they are in Goblindome, where it is trial by combat. And of course, there'll be an announcer that comes on talking about the great Overlord Toady and how these big evil adventurer trespassers committed a big crime by coming into Goblindome, and so now they must face the trial of chaos to determine their innocence or guilt. And there's several monsters that come up. But first, I'm just going to say, for the thing itself, the way that I'm actually going to play it is that these walls are actually 20 feet high to scale. In other words, it's actually 20 feet up before you get to where the stands are, where all the goblins are watching the event itself. But and I could physically make it that high, but then it gets too hard to see over when the players are playing. So I just made it that high, and you just say, okay, it's going to be 20 feet. These walls here are actually 20 feet high, so they're way up here somewhere, basically. So it's not easy to get up out of this. But you're going to see that there's basically a relatively flat floor, and that there's these stone columns that are large enough for people to climb up on, one of which on each end has stairways to go up on. There's pit traps that are in there, and then there's also little stone columns, little small ones on either side, 6 of them, that have little bottles, little potion bottles that are on them. And then at the far end over here is where Overlord Toady, who's super brave, so he sits behind iron gates himself. He sits here with his bodyguards, and he basically announces, and he talks about, he pumps up the goblins basically, and tells them that the bad guys, the evil adventurers, are going to get crushed, and to show Overlord Toady's might and whatnot. And the first event is going to be against these goblin riders. And again, this is going to be kind of a shenanigans type thing. So the goblins are going to come riding on basically war dogs, but there's also going to be these ogre guys that have catapults, and there's little small goblins that are too small to fight. They're not children. They're little small goblins that are just too weak and wimpy to fight. So they've been giving them basically spiked football helmets, and they launch them off of the back of this via the catapult. They're going to be coming out of here. They come out of this door, and the players will be coming out of that door. So there's going to be all this big distance between them. Okay, and when they come out, the goblin riders are going to go charging as fast as they can, and then the catapults are literally going to launch the little wimpy goblins that are in the spiked football helmets across the battlefield and try and slam in, which if they hit the players is going to do quite a bit of damage. If they miss, those poor goblins are just dead. They're just dead. Now the thing is, when the players succeed on the first match, if they beat the first guys, I got some sound effects. I have my little sound effects button. So when the players succeed on the first one and they defeat the first goblin horde, they're going to hear. It adds a little something, right? But as the matches go on, then the next match is going to be against the big bad wolves. It's going to be 4 giant dire wolves and stuff. The crowd's going to start to get rowdier, and they're also starting to get a little bit more concerned too. The heroes are going to kind of win the crowd over a little bit as they're defeating the enemies, because it's going to impress the goblins. So. So they're gonna start winning the crowd over. But as they defeat more and more of Overlord Toady's champions, the next being the Three Sisters. That's three giant ogres. I call them the Three Sisters from the Shawshank Redemption. These as soon as they defeat them, the goblins are in the stands are actually going to start to get more and more worried. And then the final battle is going to be against this guy here, who's the commander of the goblin armies, and he's got riding this giant scorpion that's got poison attacks and claws that it can grab people, and he's going to be stabbing with his spear and stuff. So it's it's a giant scorpion with a rider with multiple attacks per round and whatnot. When he dies, all the goblins are going to freak out basically, because all the champions have been defeated, and all the morale of all of the goblins in the stadium basically is going to be broken. So, and that's when the pandemonium is going to kick in. And the goblins are going to flee to the little exits that I have. I'll put in there's three little exits. There's an exit there. There's an exit here. There's no one here. Basically into the common areas. They're just all going to go swarming out and flee there. And the bodyguards that are protecting Overlord Toady basically are going to scream at him that he's a fraud and that he can't protect them. And they're basically going to create, they're going to commit regicide and kill their king themselves. And Overlord Toady will fall over, hit a lever that opens this up so that, that the players can actually get into here. I can't do it with one hand. But the players will then be able to, all the goblins will file out, they'll scream out of here as fast as they can, leaving the Goblindome empty. The players will then see that the only way out basically is to come up and climb up through here, and they go down this passageway, which leads to this room over here. And in this room over here, there's going to be several treasures that the Goblin King has captured. And keeps hoards to himself for a while. There's going to be like a stone bed and whatnot, and also a lever that they can pull that gets them through this door, so they can then go out. So they do not actually face the entire horde of all the goblins themselves directly. Instead, they break their morale by defeating one set of champions after another that Overlord Toady throws at them. And then in doing so, it basically breaks the morale of the entire goblin tribe within the cave complex, and they just break and run and head for the exits, no longer believing in their king, and so they're no longer unified by one rallying flag, and basically they all dissipate, and the goblin quote-unquote threat from this particular cave complex will have been vanquished. So that's it. That is Goblindome. Appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. If you got any questions or comments, please leave them below. Please like and subscribe if you're enjoying the content. And I look forward to seeing you guys next adventure. Take care. Bye.